welcome back to the Big Red Zone. We're very excited for today's show. Remember, new episodes come out every Thursday. You can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. Hit the like button on this video as well as our other videos. You can also find us on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at Big Red Zone. And as always, tell a friend. This week is Super Bowl week. We'll break down the Super Bowl, an unbelievable game, kind of anticlimactic finish, but a great game. We'll break down everything from the actual game, commercials, halftime show, and more. This is the Big Red Zone. Welcome to the podcast. This is the Big Red Zone. I'm your host, Big Red. As always, I'm joined by Danny Football.
How you doing, Big Red? Happy Super Bowl Monday.
Happy Super Bowl Monday. I was saying the best part about Super Bowl Monday is it's the first day of the off season for Dynasty football.
Ready
so
to run it back.
we can get this get it going. How are you feeling on this Super Bowl Monday?
Feeling good. It's always good to have a non-stressed Super Bowl. You know, get to sit back, relax, watch the game. Don't have any skin in it. We're good. Stress-free Super Bowl. Gotta hope the Pats are back at some point, but I'll never complain about just being able to sit back and just watch football and enjoy the process.
Yeah. It was almost a completely stressed Super Bowl for me. I had no squares bought up until an hour before the Super Bowl.
Wow.
And then I got that text that said, "Hey, do you want to buy any squares?" And I couldn't help myself. So I said, "How many do you have left?" And she said 6. So I said, "All right, put me down for 6."
Jesus.
And they were cheap, but didn't hit on one. So that wasn't
That's how it works.
terrible numbers. I got hustled. Tell you right now, I got hustled. I thought I had a chance. If the final looking at it, I think I had what was it? I think I had Chiefs 5, Eagles 4 as my numbers. So if it was going into the third quarter and it was, any other time, I think the Eagles would have went for 1 and kicked the field goal. I would have been good. But since it was the end of the game, I totally understand them trying to win a Super Bowl. So I guess that you got to go for 2 there. But I can speak for all the gambling people out there that one killed. So not my happiest moment. But you know what? Like you said, it was a stress-free Super Bowl, but nothing to sneeze at. Because for all intents and purposes, a great game. Did you do anything fun for the Super Bowl?
No, just hung around, watched it. Nothing crazy. Again, it's kind of hard to inspire the crowd when it's not the Patriots, but it is what it is.
It is what it is. Yeah, we hung out at Mrs. Big Red's house. It was her mother's birthday, so happy birthday
Okay,
to
all right, there we
Mama,
go.
Mrs. Big Red, and we hung out with her new niece. So her niece kind of got to
Wow,
watch a little Super Bowl action, which was nice, and
there we go.
it was a good time. Pizza.
Can't go
I said,
wrong.
Mrs. Big Red, listen. I said it just like this. I said, Mrs. Big Red, Super Bowl Sunday. When is the pizza coming? This is like it's Super Bowl Sunday. There has to be some pizza involved. So we got some pizza and mozzarella sticks. It was a good time. It was a
There
good
we
time.
go.
But let's get right into this. It's going to be our last NFL version of this. It's the last NFL weekend recap.
It's the weekend recap.
So weekend recap this week. We're going to break down the Super Bowl. Eagles versus the Chiefs. Obviously, the Chiefs take this one 38-35. Unbelievable game. For all, I knew from the first 2 drives of the game, each team got offensive after the 2 first drives of the games where they came down and got a touchdown. It's going to be a fun one to watch. Not too much defense to be played. It was just basically, I think Danny Football said on this podcast, which team would blink first.
Yep.
And a couple key turnovers from the Eagles, and that was the game, or one key. It was almost 2, but key turnover, and that was the difference in the game. I mean, you give up a fumble touchdown, that's your 7 points. That's your lead.
Yep.
So it was what team was going to make a mistake. It's unfortunate because of how well he played, but it was Jalen Hurts who made that one mistake with the fumble. By no means am I going to put this game on Jalen Hurts, but it's just unfortunate to see him lose this one because he played so well.
Yeah, you mentioned it. Going into the game last week, I thought it was going to come down to whoever made the first mistake. And you know, I picked the Eagles. I picked Jalen Hurts. He's my guy. And as soon as it happened, I was worried. I'm like, man, that could be the turning point of the game right there, because that's the first turnover. You spot a Kansas City team 7 points that at that point were struggling for points, and in the end, it came back to cost you because you lose this game by 3. So it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate that, like you mentioned, Jalen Hurts played a hell of a game, 4 touchdowns, threw for over 300 yards, gave his team every chance to win that ball game, and it just came down to one bad play where he puts it on the ground, and the Chiefs were able to turn that around into a touchdown. So, as you mentioned, I'm not going to put that on Jalen Hurts, but it is unfortunate that it just took one mistake. It took one turnover, one fumble return touchdown, and that makes the difference. And that's kind of how I saw the game going, is whoever makes that big mistake is going to end up losing. So whether it was an interception or a turnover on downs, or in this case a fumble recovery, it ended up shooting the Eagles in the foot.
The unfortunate thing would have been, like, instead of going to the halftime up 24-7, you go into halftime
Exactly.
24-14. It's a 10-point game. Like,
Right.
You got some life.
In real time, I was like, man, you just spotted them 7 points that they didn't even have to work for. Like,
Right.
Pat Mahomes didn't have to throw, run, do anything to get that 7 points. You just handed it to him. So, in addition to which team will make the first mistake, I mean, you give Pat Mahomes 7 free points. That's a dangerous game in and of itself.
Right. And the other thing is, like you said, for all intents and purposes, minus the first drive of the game, that first half, the Eagles defense had their way. The Chiefs couldn't get anything going.
Yeah.
And
it was very similar to the 49ers Super Bowl, where the Chiefs just look absolutely terrible in the first half and then come out a completely different team in the second.
And that's what I come down to, partially why I picked the Chiefs. I'm glad we did this podcast before I realized this, because I'll tell you what I realized, because there was a curse involved. I would have I'm very superstitious, so I'm glad I didn't remember this before we recorded. But the reason I picked the Chiefs was because of that experience edge. And I just feel like like you said, in the 49ers game, this game, the coaching halftime adjustments were huge for the Chiefs in both Super Bowls, and the reasons they won both of them. And I mean, they came out and looked like a totally different team. They scored 24 points of their own in the second half, and really, even though they scored 14 in the first half, really they went from 7 points to 24 points as an offensive unit. So I feel like those adjustments made by the coaching staff were just, I mean, as much as I love what Nick Sirianni's done this year, he hasn't been in those big moments. He hasn't been like with all the pressure on to make a call, and he's handled it pretty well. And I thought he did a very good job yesterday. I'm not saying he didn't, but I think that just goes to show the experience of Andy Reid and Eric Bieniemy in calling that offense and being like, "This isn't working. Let's try this." And that's why I gave them the edge, is that experience.
And I agree. I think there's something to be said. Andy Reid, this was his 4th Super Bowl, right? Yeah, his 4th Super Bowl.
I think he had one with the Eagles too, right?
Yeah, so 4th Super Bowl. 4th Super Bowl, and I mean, he's second all time in playoff wins, so that tells you how many playoffs he's been in, how many high pressure situations he's been in. So yeah, that goes to show that experience matters. This is the second time he's gone into a third time, because the Bucs Super Bowl he wasn't able to turn it around, but this is the third time he's gone into a halftime saying, "Hey guys, we're getting our asses kicked. We got to make something happen here." And this is the second out of the 3 times they were able to turn it around. So again, you mentioned the Eagles, and not to say that they shrunk, but again, that delay a game that pushes you back to about a 3rd and 14. The fumble, the offense kind of stifled themselves in the third quarter, kind of opened the door to Pat Mahomes. I think they had 2 straight 3-and-outs at one point. And then the defense in the second half, man, they couldn't get a stop. They couldn't get to Pat Mahomes. 0 sacks on the day. And
shocking. That was shocking. That
it
he
was
didn't get one
a
sack.
complete 360. It was a complete 180 from, again, I'll mention the Bucs Super Bowl, where the Bucs plastered Patrick Mahomes in that Super Bowl, man. Patrick Mahomes couldn't do anything in that Super Bowl because they got constant pressure on him. And that's how you beat Pat Mahomes. You got to, not flush him out of the pocket because he can do stuff with his legs, but you got to get to him. You got to put pressure on him, hit him, put him on the ground. And the Eagles weren't even close to that last night. So, again, it kind of comes back to Andy Reid, just knowing the adjustments he had to make. He came out of halftime, made the adjustments, and his team won.
Yeah, it was impressive coaching play. And also, the other reason why I'm surprised they didn't get any sacks was, Patrick Mahomes, especially through the second half where they did better, was playing on one ankle. The end of that first half, I felt like it was over for the Chiefs. They really didn't do anything on offense. It was only a 10-point game, so I thought they're still kind of in it. But the end of that half, Patrick Mahomes goes down, and you could obviously see he can't really move that well with that ankle, the high ankle sprain that was hurt like 2 weeks ago. And it looked like he seriously re-injured it. It was like, it was obviously a lot of pain.
If that had happened at any other point in the game, I probably would have been with you. But because it happened literally right before halftime, I wasn't worried because I figured they were going to do whatever it took to get that ankle good to go, whether it was like a super cortisone shot or whatever they had to
they
him
definitely pumped him through some stuff.
No, I knew they were going to pump him up. So as soon as he came up hurt, and I'm like, oh man, that doesn't look good. But there was like a minute and change left. I'm like, all right, he's gonna head into the locker room. There's no chance he's missing a snap. So
no, I knew he wasn't gonna miss a snap. But my whole point was in that comment was, how do you not get a sack on a one-legged Patrick Mahomes? It's like
right,
and he's ripping off 26-yard rushes. He what did he finish? He finished with 44 yards on the day, including that 26-yard rush to set up the game-winning field goal. It's like, how do you not contain him when he has a bad ankle? Like I like that. You should have been all. If I was the Eagles, I would have been blitzing all day long after that ankle. Just period. But especially after he had that bad ankle, I would be hitting him on every play because you got to get pressure on the quarterback.
I think that's just a testament to the Chiefs' offensive line, man. Joe Thuney, former Patriot Joe Thuney. They completely rebuilt that offensive line, knowing they needed to keep Pat Mahomes on his feet. So there you go. It worked.
Yeah, it was very good. The other thing I would like to point out there, I don't know if you noticed it. They kept mentioning it on the broadcast, so I'm sure you noticed. How bad was that field surface?
Evidently, pretty bad. I saw the few slips, and then commentaries mentioning it. They're showing
new
the
cleats.
replays. But I had saw that the NFL had been preparing this grass for 2 years. Arizona has the technology where they can actually move the turf. They can move the field itself outside so that the grass can get sun and then it comes back in. But I don't know if it was the paint. I don't know if it was the surface itself. But that field looked pretty bad. I'm not gonna lie.
Wasn't it like 6 weeks ago? Kyler just tore his ACL on that field.
That's a good point.
We had Dallas Goedert tore up his knee week 1 on that field. It's like that grass. I don't know if it was like you said the paint or whatever, but it was people were sliding. The one with Sky Moore, the one that his feet just slid right out from underneath him was just like terrible. They showed Jalen Hurts switched his cleats at one point because he went to metal spikes because it was like he was just kept sliding out, or he switched his cleats to different spikes so it would stick better. And it worked out for him because everyone was sliding all over the field. It was just, I thought it was terrible playing conditions for the guys, which is kind of unfortunate because some of those big plays that, there's a lot of big plays, but some, there was, I think, a couple missed big plays just because guys slid on the paint or on the turf, which is unfortunate. It was a disadvantage for both teams. I'm not saying one team had an advantage or not over the other, but it was a kind of disappointing to see the terrain play the factor in a Super Bowl, which is the whole
Yeah,
point of keeping it in a dome or a nice
yeah, it
climate.
was unfortunate that the playing surface played a factor in how the game was played. I did see at one point they showed the pile of cleats that the Eagles had
Yeah,
been going through. Um, I know they mentioned at one point that the Chiefs, no one of the Chiefs had changed their cleats. I don't know if that's actually true. If maybe the Chiefs just came out with the appropriate length of spikes and they didn't have to change.
yeah,
I know Hertz had to go from shorter spikes to longer spikes, but again, that's not something they should have to worry about. If the whole idea of the Super Bowl is this is supposed to be the most neutral site possible, given fans, location. I know they like to try to do it in a dome. Usually, it's a dome.
yeah.
There's no reason the grass shouldn't be up to the same par. So,
Hmm.
and I know we get on turf. I know we get on turf fields all the time. Is it safe? Is it safe? That field last night didn't seem too safe. I know they showed that replay and the kicker nearly broke his goddamn ankle
Right. Yeah,
on the
yeah,
kick.
yeah.
So that's just not safe.
I'm glad no one got like seriously hurt on that
Right.
grass. Like no ACLs were torn in the making of that Super Bowl because
Yeah.
that would have been terrible. Um, the other thing that's like a big talk about today, and it was definitely like frustrating watching it last night. Um, I was disappointed that I think this was one of the best Super Bowls I've seen in a long time. It was back and forth. It was, Eagles would get a couple scores up, then the Chiefs would come back, and then the Chiefs would take the lead, and then the Eagles would tie it up. They got the 2-point conversion to tie it up. Chiefs are driving. You get this long third down call with a minute and a half left, and then you call a holding call that, all right, people are arguing. Even the kid who got called, made the call. He said, "Yeah, I held him." Sure, He might have had a hold. I would have rather seen that play out, kick the field goal, and see what happens down to the other minute and a half because I hate seeing a Super Bowl decided on a. I hate seeing any game decided, but I hate seeing a Super Bowl decided on a penalty. And that's what it was. It was decided on a penalty. They get the first down. The Eagles have two timeouts. That was where it came into play. They instead of taking the other delay of game, it's on the Eagles. Instead of taking the other delay of game, they called the timeout, so they're down to two. Down to two timeouts. I mean, the game's over. You're inside the 10 at that point. It was very disappointing to see that be the determining factor. And I wish I mean, the ref had the flag in his pocket the entire game. It's a terrible time to decide to pull it out with a minute and a half left of the game.
Yeah, you and I have been mentioning this before we started recording that for the most part it was a pretty quiet game, outside of that delay game. Um
Couple
a
offsides,
couple
but
offsides but nothing egregious. There was no,
right,
there were no PIs, there was no personal fouls, there was no, roughing the passer, defenseless
right.
receiver. So
It was all like bang
for
bang plays,
right,
ball
so for the
start, all that stuff.
for the most part, the refs had kept the flags in their pockets, kept the whistles in their pockets, but much like last year, it comes down to that last drive, and for whatever reason, they decide, here's our chance to kind of put our stamp on the game, which is unfortunate. I mean, I understand you need to call when you think you need to make a call, but in that position, I just don't see it. I know the player himself. His name escapes me right now. Said it was a hold. I grabbed him. I was just hoping they would let it slide. Um, and I saw a really good take on it. I can't remember who tweeted it, but there was a really good take where I'm pretty sure it was a former player. They said, guys play how they feel the game is being called. Like if they think, all right, the refs are kind of letting us play here, I'm going to grab, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that because, that's just kind of how the flow of the game is going. So like we mentioned, they had kept the flags in their pockets. They weren't calling much. So I can see how a corner or a safety could say, all right, they're not calling anything. Not that they're not calling anything today, but they're letting us go out here. Let me do a quick grab here. Or maybe he had been grabbing up until that point. And it wasn't getting called. So he's like, all right, they're not going to call it now. And I think that's a great point. The guys are out there playing how they think their game is going to be called. And in that instance, you kind of change how the game's been called. Had they been calling that all day long, then sure. But what was it? Was it 3rd and goal?
It was, no, third and like 15.
All right, so there you go, 3rd and 15. So you change the entire complexity of that game. Like it goes from the Chiefs kicking a field goal to take a 3-point lead. To take a 3-point lead and giving the Eagles, maybe a minute and change left.
Minute and a half.
Minute and a half
to score.
To drive the field. So up until that flag, I thought, all right, Chiefs will kick something here. Eagles probably have enough time to go down and kick one themselves, and we're going to overtime. So again, like last year, Rams came down the field. I actually just watched the video. It was 3rd and goal inside of the 20, I think, and they called that kind of questionable PI on Cooper Kupp, and you hand the Rams a new set of downs, and they win the game. So I'm not going to go as far to say it was an egregious call. I'm not going to, be one of those, NFL is rigged. But in a sense, you kind of handed this to the Chiefs. You made a questionable call at best. You made a call that didn't have to be called, and you took the game right out of the Eagles' hands. And that doesn't sit well with me, man. I don't know if it had been a highly penalized and highly, refs have really been cracking down game, I would have gotten it. But it was such a loose and open game that I don't understand a flag in that position. It just doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, I like what you said. Because that makes me think of how I like in coaching when I coach basketball, because it's the same thing. You got to read the refs. Like if the refs are calling every foul, you got to change the way you're playing. You gotta make an adjustment. Like in basketball, if they're calling every little foul, I tell my guys they're calling everything. You got to play clean and use that to your advantage. Drive to the hoop and get fouled. They're calling everything on both sides. Use it. Go to the hoop, get fouled. You're getting on the other end. Vice versa. If they're not calling anything, all right, they're not calling anything on us. They're giving you fouls too. Play a little more physical. It's like, for the most part, the reffing crew did a good job yesterday calling a very good game. And they let them play. It was a big stage of the game, biggest stage of the season. Let the boys play, see what happens. And, we'll live with it. If it's a little extra hold, I like that. To change that with a minute and a half left of the game is just ridiculous. Was it a hold? I'm not really gonna say yes or no. I think he did hold him a little bit, but in that stage,
I
and
think at that
having
point,
feel for the game, I would have let it go.
unless he is just straight up dragging him to the ground, or you can clearly see like the full on pull of the jersey, and there's just like 3 feet of fabric, or it hinders his progression, then call it. But then you could even argue on the other end, it wasn't even a catchable ball. So
Right, I was just gonna say that it was I don't think he had a chance to catch it if he didn't hold. So it's like,
even in real time, I didn't see it, and then even in the replay, it didn't even look like it hindered Juju
no.
that much, if at all. So again, just a super tight call, and that's not really what you're looking for in that kind of position, because I'm not saying that the Chiefs could have just as easily won that game. Maybe they got to stop on defense. But then again, they have the entire overtime to win that game as well. So it's not like you completely screw the Chiefs if you don't make that call, but you do completely screw the Eagles by making that call. You essentially ice the game right there.
He iced the game. That was it. It was over. Because then all you gotta, I was saying with someone today, if I was the Eagles in that last play when Patrick Mahomes, I think it was Patrick Mahomes, like ran down the field, or it was someone else, maybe Pacheco, came down the field, and they got it to like the 5, and before going down, he was almost in the end zone. If I'm the Eagles defense, I drag him into the end zone to get the touchdown, because that was a mistake by them. Like, let them score the touchdown. I'd rather go try to score a touchdown with a minute 15 left than try to get a touchdown with, you have to score a touchdown with 8 seconds left.
That's kind of a big brain move. I wonder if a DC has ever thought to maybe like line up a corner like on the line. Maybe if even if no one's there, line up on the line and just be hey, if the guy cuts your way, be ready to just come the other way and push him in.
Yeah. Because the
But
Patriots did that in that Giants Super Bowl. They let them score a touchdown at the end, and the guy tried to hold off, and they kind of gave him a push into the end
right,
zone.
right,
It's like I would have just dragged him into the end zone and
yeah.
said, "Let's play for him."
In real time, I thought he was just gonna run it straight in, and then even his slide, man, I thought he waited till the last possible second for that slide because um
Was it Mahomes?
no, it was Panchenko.
Pacheco.
Because what's the slide rule? Is it where you
I think it's
start
where
the
you.
slide?
I thought it's where you. I think it's where you start, or when your knee goes down and you start the slide.
Okay.
But also,
Because
like,
he started his slide and his feet like scraped the edge of the end zone. I'm like, damn, dude, you cut that as close as you possibly could have.
I think it's
But
where
like
the
you said,
ball is, where
if they
you
had, if the Eagles had maybe the wherewithal, they could have just as easily just gave him that
pushed
push
him
and
in.
he's in. Yeah.
Um, but nevertheless, I don't think it should have got to that point. Definitely would have made
Mm-mm,
that call.
mm-mm. No.
And like I said, I guess my main takeaways from this game, it was a very good game. Unfortunate that it was decided on a penalty, but very good game. Jalen Hurts, you said it. It reminds me of the Tom Brady Super Bowl a couple years ago when we lost the Eagles. Did everything he could for his team. 304 yards, a touchdown, 3 touchdowns through on the ground with 70 yards. Tied a record for most touchdowns rushed in a single game. Um, just a great game all around offensively. It was a great game and nothing to hang your heads at. I think they're going to be another team that's going to be there for years to come. And I got to tell you, as much as I'm not a big Chiefs fan. Um, I thought it was a pretty gutsy performance from Patrick Mahomes, as much as, we don't like to give him too much credit. 3 touchdowns, 182 yards, and then obviously the 44 yards rushing with that 26-yard run to set him up for the field goal. Yeah, man, just an unbelievable performance for him playing on that one leg, and I just it was a great game overall.
Yeah, I thought it was a good Super Bowl. Considering that you kind of got the quote unquote underdog takes the early lead, and then the favorite kind of storms back. Um, Again, it's unfortunate the ref had to kind of decide it, but again, that's not going to take away from the entire game. I see a lot of people saying it was the best Super Bowl of all time or like top three. I don't know if I agree with that. I think there's been plenty of
No,
other better Super Bowls.
no, I wouldn't say that.
I don't know. Again, it was a good game. I, I vaguely remember seeing like that was the best Super Bowl ever. I'm like, buddy, have you been watching? Like, how many? Is this your first one?
That's recency bias. That's all it is.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So I mean, it was good. I don't even know if I'd say it was better than the. I felt like last year's was pretty good. I don't know if I'd say it was better than last year's.
Yeah, I think it was
Um,
right on par with last. I thought the last 2 years have been good
yeah,
games.
yeah.
I
And
wouldn't
then
even say last year was the best Super Bowl of all time either. I just thought it was a
no,
good
no, no,
game.
no. If you're asking me, best Super Bowl of all time is 28-3. It has to be that one because that
Yeah,
was the greatest
absolutely.
Super Bowl of all time. That or if I'm not going Patriots bias, it's oof Titans Titans Rams. I think it was Titans Rams
Yeah,
when the Titan I can't remember. I couldn't tell you who the Titans wideout was, but McNair hit someone for a last second catch and they got tackled literally by their shoelaces at the 1 yard line as time expired. That I'll go
yeah,
with that one. So yeah, in terms of just all time Super Bowls, not even close, but it was a good one. It was a good one nonetheless.
yeah. I agree. I think you're not too far off. I think it's on par with last year. I think it's the same thing. I think it's a really good game. But as far as like greatest Super Bowl of all time. I don't think it. I don't think it comes
I
close.
think maybe had the defenses shown up a little bit, I'd agree with that. But the fact that it
Yeah.
was just, I mean, no sacks from one team is crazy.
How
What
can you say 28-3 is not the greatest Super Bowl of all
right?
time? Like,
You
that's
can't.
like
Uh,
even the Seahawks one. Like the Seahawks Super Bowl was one of the best I've ever
that
seen.
was a good back and forth. You had the curse catch that is forgotten now, but you had the insane curse catch, and then you have the interception at the goal line. So that's another crazy one. And then you even go back to the 0-1 Super Bowl against Pat's Rams, and you have Adam Vinatieri kicking game expiring field goal to get the Pats their first championship against the greatest show on turf.
Yeah.
So
I'd
yeah.
argue. Sorry, I was
No,
going
go
to say
ahead.
I'd argue the Chiefs 49ers one was just as good, if not better. I mean,
Right.
Chiefs are down 10 with like 8 to go in the game in the fourth
Right.
quarter,
Right.
and they come back to win.
Jimmy Garoppolo sails Emmanuel Sanders just barely, and the game's over right there. So again, it's hard to. I understand. Oh, that was the greatest Super Bowl of all time. It happens a lot with a halftime show too. That was the greatest halftime show of all time. But just to put that into perspective, a good game, but not the greatest of all time. No.
Yeah, I'd say great game.
Great game.
Great game. Good
Great
for
game.
you.
I would take that. I would take that over a Seahawks Broncos Super Bowl every day of the week.
Oh, 100%. That had to be one of the worst Super Bowls of my lifetime. I think that was the worst Super Bowl of my lifetime.
100%.
It was just a boring game. The Steelers Super Bowl against the Cardinals, I think, was better too.
You had the 99-yard interception return from
Right.
James Harrison.
But how could you? I mean, I could think of a bunch of different Super Bowls that were more, just as, if not more enjoyable than this one. But
Right.
not taking anything away. Great
No,
Super
no.
Bowl. Great Super Bowl. Congratulations to the Chiefs. You finally won two in 4 years. We've done it a couple times, so don't get too ahead of yourselves here. We won 3 in 4 years. Let's put that into perspective. I love the other question. Is this a dynasty? I think you need. Pat Mahomes even said it. I think we need to win a couple more before we call ourselves a dynasty.
I wouldn't call it a dynasty yet. Not yet.
Good team.
This is only their third appearance too. So yeah, we gotta. It needs to be consistent trips, consistent championships if we want a dynasty. Hold on there.
Hold on to, and I'm not saying that
they have every opportunity to do it. They have every
right.
opportunity to do it, but again, we got to see it.
Let's hold on to our seats here, fellas. Before we move on from the Super Bowl, we got some things that beside the game that we got to get into. When we think of Super Bowl, one of the things we think of the most is commercials. Danny Football, any favorite commercials from this Super Bowl? There was a bunch of good ones, I thought.
There were some good ones. I think the one that got me the most, I know a lot of people were freaking out over that Tubi one where it looked like the channel changed.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's because I was intently paying attention during that time for whatever reason, but I knew it was a commercial. But I could see if you didn't pay attention to the screen for half of a second, you probably thought it was happening in real time. So obviously that one got a lot of people. My favorite, just off the top of my head, was the Blue Moon one, where for whatever reason it was this is oh man, now I can't remember what the beers were. It wasn't Busch Light because Busch Light had their own thing going on. I think it was Coors Light. It was Coors Light and
Miller Lite.
And Miller Lite, and the two guys were just going back and forth, obviously doing the cheesy fight scene stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And they're it's a Miller Lite commercial, it's a Coors Light commercial, and then at the very end, it's a Blue Moon commercial. I'm like, what the hell? So I got a good kick out of that one. I'm a big Jack Harlow guy, so I did like the Doritos one, but I saw that one coming because they released that one early. But again, I thought it was a good one. And then special shout out, got to give Ben Affleck and the Dunkin commercial a good top 3.
The Dunkin one was a good one. That was and it was I was all right, Ben Affleck's doing this. This is a good one. And then when they brought Jennifer J-Lo out at the end, that was that was a funny twist at the end. I don't care how many they do and how long they do this type of commercial. The baby one talking.
The
will
babies are all
make me
time.
laugh.
I love. Was it 2 years ago when they brought him back and they did the whole I do like the baby commercials. I do.
thought it was hilarious, them going back
The
and forth.
oh man, now I can't remember what it was. I
The
just had
Breaking
it.
Bad, just
The Breaking
nostalgia.
Bad one was good. The Breaking
Yeah,
Bad one was good.
just nostalgia wise, like seeing them back
Yeah,
was
they
good.
did, and they tried their best to recreate the that scene.
Yeah.
Um, oh man, I
Um,
just had one on the tip of my tongue that I was going to talk about. Oh, no, I can't remember what it was. That's
um,
unfortunate. Oh, the M and M's. The M and M's. The M and M's got me. I bought in. I thought the M and M's had actually gotten rid of the M and M mascots, and then the commercial comes out, and they're like, "Just kidding, they're back." And I'm like, "They had my ass." I mean, I literally thought the M and M's had gotten canceled. So I took that one hook, line, and sinker.
um, that was a good one. I like the Eminem one. Um, I also like the Bud Light commercial with what's his name dancing in the background.
I do remember the Bud Light commercial. I can't
It
remember
was they
who.
were, I forget his name. He was in War Dogs. He was in the new Top
Oh,
Gun
Miles
movie.
Teller. Miles
Miles
Teller.
Teller,
Miles
yeah.
Teller. That was
Him
funny.
doing
Yeah.
like dancing to the
While they're on hold. Yeah.
on the hold music. That I
Yeah.
thought that was hilarious. I thought that
The
was good. I just like Miles Teller, so
the Bush Light had a good one. I can't remember exactly what the premise of it was, but I remember Bush Light had a good one. Um,
and I mean, obviously seeing Michael Keaton come back as Batman, that kind of
yeah,
fired me up for
yeah,
the new
yeah.
Flash movie. Uh, I saw on IMDb too because I had to look at that. Ben Affleck's in that movie too as Batman, so I don't know how they are going to do that one, but I'm fired up. Michael Keaton's back. He's an underrated Batman in my eyes. A lot of
Underrated
people
Batman. All right.
like they go with Christian Bale, which I think is the best Batman, or they want to argue with Robert Pattinson or some of these guys. But I'll tell you, Michael Keaton, he's an underrated. I thought he was
All right.
hilarious. I thought he's a
Okay.
great Batman. Check him out. Check him out. A little darker in movies, but those movies were great. But great commercials as always. Some stinkers in there, but great commercials as always. I think we also got to talk about when talking Super Bowl. You got to talk about the halftime show. Very hot button topic today on some water cooler talk with talking about the halftime show. And actually, last night it was very like cut and dry. Like there was people that hated the Rihanna show, and I, quite frankly, I thought it was okay. I enjoyed it. It wasn't the best one I've ever seen, but I didn't think it deserved the hate it got. I don't know about you.
Yeah, you and me kind of got into this a little bit before we started, but for me, I'd rather a halftime show be that than too much. Like I feel like there have been some the past couple years that have just gone way off the rails. My exhibit A is Maroon 5. I don't know what the hell was going on at that halftime show. There like that was the most hodgepodge thrown together halftime show I've ever seen. It you had Maroon 5 and then Travis Scott is there and I wasn't a fan of that halftime show. Uh I wasn't a huge fan of Justin Timberlake when he did it a couple years ago, but again, I felt like his was kind of in the same vein where, come out, play your hits, get off the stage, nothing crazy. Again, maybe it's just not because I'm a huge Justin Timberlake guy, but I do like Rihanna. I like her songs. She has a very good catalog of songs. I'd I'd kind of comp this one to the Lady Gaga one again, the 28-3
Oh
Super Bowl.
no, I don't know if I'd say
No,
football. I don't know.
so I'm saying this in a sense of where it's an artist who has a deep catalog of songs. You know
Okay.
her songs. She's playing the hits. She's not, doing anything crazy. The difference being, Lady Gaga brought that shit where
Yeah, I'm gonna tell
she's
you.
coming off the roof. She's catching the football at the end. Where she had a good amount of flair to it. I liked that. I'm sure Rihanna being pregnant had something to do with the lack
Yeah,
of
that
showmanship
was
last night.
wild too.
But again, she came out, she played her songs. Again, she has a great catalog of songs. She has good songs. I enjoy her music. So I was a fan. I'm not going to say it was the greatest halftime show of all time, but I'm not going to say it's the worst. Maroon 5 for me is the worst Super Bowl halftime show of all time. So Rihanna, I feel like she's in a good spot. Not bad, but not the greatest. I felt like the hate was just completely unwarranted. There were a lot of people coming forward. I'm like, guys, like, what else did you want her to do?
Yeah.
She sang
I-
her songs. It's not like she came out there and sang completely outlandish, like no one knows these songs.
Yeah.
I'm sure being pregnant limited her in what she could do, whether it was, moving around or the stage or whatever her theatrics could have been. So I feel like given the circumstances, it was a good halftime show. I do think what maybe works against her is that last year they completely rolled out an all-star lineup of artists, and
Yeah.
it's hard to come back after that.
Did it football? I'm going to tell you right now. When you started off comparing this one to Lady Gaga, I almost lost it because
I was a
Lady
huge
Gaga's
fan.
was one of the
I was a
best.
huge fan
It
of
was
that Lady Gaga one.
one of the best
I was
halftime
hyped.
shows of my lifetime.
I was hyped going into it, and I was thoroughly impressed going out of it.
I was ready to like run through a wall after the Lady Gaga concert, the Lady Gaga halftime show. What Super Bowl was that? Was that the Falcons?
That was the Falcons Super Bowl, yeah.
Literally couldn't have been more on par for that game. I think you hit the nail on the head. Like I think it was a good Super Bowl halftime show. This one reminded me a lot of the Weekend. Like the Weekend
Okay.
one was like
Okay.
just him. He just wanted to do it.
Yep.
There was no one else. And I think that's where he got a lot of flack for it because it was just him.
That's
And
a good comp. That's probably a better comp. That's a better comp.
like
And I enjoyed that one too.
I thought it was all right, but people hated that one for some reason. So a lot of people hated that one. I thought it was.
I think people got spoiled. I can't remember. I couldn't tell you. We did this, I think, 2 years ago when producer John was still on. We literally we did a whole draft on the halftime show.
Yeah, I think it was last 2 years ago. I think
Yeah,
we did it.
I couldn't tell. I can't remember exactly who the headliner was, but I remember there was a certain point where like they had the headliner, but they would have like 5 other artists get in there. So I think people got spoiled with the whole, who else is going to show up? Who else is going to be
Right.
involved? And I feel like now the trend outside of last year, obviously, where they announced it with, hey, here's the 5 people it's going to be. I feel like people are still spoiled. Like, oh, is Jay-Z going to come out? Is,
Drake is
Drake going to be there? Is, so-and-so going to come out? Is so-and-so going to come out? So I feel like when people get those expectations and the artists themselves are like, no, it's just going to be me. I feel like people are like, well, I don't like this, or this is boring. So, which is not fair.
Yeah. It would have been cool if Jay-Z came out though.
It would have been. It would have been. So,
yeah.
But I mean, did he come out for Beyonce's? I don't even remember.
He didn't.
So yeah, if he's not coming out for his own wife's halftime show, who else is he coming out for? So, I won't lie. When Rihanna started all of the lights, I was like, there's no way Kanye West is about to come out here, is he?
Yeah.
But again, it was a good halftime show. I think people need to kind of calm down with the whole, expecting, Prince to come back reanimated and jump up on the stage. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah. And I mean, we talked about it like when we started going, because we guessed on if Rihanna would bring out a guest, who would it be? And, we went through it. It was like Eminem was last year, so we can't do it. Kendrick Lamar was there last year. Probably isn't going to do it. No way Kanye West comes on the stage.
No.
Odds are Paul McCartney's not gonna jump up. He was there. He was at the Super Bowl.
He was.
But odds are he wasn't gonna jump up there and start playing his little left-handed bass and start playing with Rihanna. Right. The only one I thought there was a strong chance going into during the game itself and during the halftime show, I kept thinking this is gonna be the moment Jay-Z comes out. Like that's who I thought was gonna come out. And even when they did the Umbrella, when she started Umbrella and you heard his voice in the background in the track, I was like, oh my God, here he comes. This is it. Right. And then they teased us, and then it wasn't really him. And I saw him coming into the Super Bowl, so I was like, see, Jay-Z, put your money on him. He's going to play. And then the only other time I thought someone else may come in was when she did. I didn't think for a second she was going to do Hotline. Was it Hotline Bling? Is that her song? Or no, not that's Drake. I'm thinking the other song she does with Jake. What's that song? She did it with Drake. What was the song? Oh my goodness.
I don't know.
Work. Yeah, work. I thought Drake was gonna come out and start doing his thing. That was the only time I thought, but I wasn't surprised Drake didn't come out. Like I really wasn't surprised. The only one I was surprised about was Jay-Z. But I think you're right. I think people's expectations were
Yeah, I
just so
think it's
high
just,
for it.
and this has kind of been the theme where like I don't think Justin Timberlake had anyone with him.
I'm gonna look it up now. I'm interested.
That I can remember. I know Maroon 5 was a hodgepodge of people, but again, I think that was
I
that. For all I know, that was the turning point where the halftime people were like, "We can't keep doing this. We can't have our headliner and then start throwing in random acts alongside of him." So I
I
think
wasn't a big fan of that one.
so. I think there has been a more concerted effort to kind of chop down who was actually on the stage. And then obviously last year it's in SoCal. They brought all those kind of SoCal rappers outside of Eminem, but he's a big Dre guy anyway. So, um, I wouldn't be shocked if this is just kind of the plan going forward. Hey, we're gonna get our big headliner, and it's just gonna be our big headliner. There's no reason, there's no reason. I mean, it's Jay Z. Jay Z is Jay Z, but you got to think Jay Z could be his own headliner by himself.
Right.
I don't think and maybe for all I know, Rihanna's like, hey, I want Jay Z out there with me. For all I know, Jay Z's like, hey, I'll do it. Maybe the NFL's like, no, because at some point we might have Jay Z headline, and we don't want to just toss Jay Z out there now. So I don't know. I couldn't tell you what the exact plan is, but just based on the trend, it seems like the thing going forward is just the artist. So I think that's why it gets a little bit hate. I think people were expecting the world on that one.
Yeah. I'm looking at Justin Timberlake. Justin Timberlake, he was by himself. He just had a marching band with him.
Yeah. Okay.
And then Maroon 5 was Travis Scott, Big Boy, in a marching band.
Yeah.
And during his.
I love Outkast as much as the next guy, but Big Boy by himself wasn't doing it for me.
This is how good Lady Gaga was. No one with her.
There you go.
With her.
Yeah, so that would have been 2 years in a row. It would have been Lady Gaga, JT. Then they did the debacle with Maroon 5.
Then it was Shakira and J Lo with Bad Bunny, J Balvin, and Emma Moon.
Okay, so then that year they kind of did a freaking the starting five that year. Jeez.
And then they did The Weekend, then last year's,
himself.
and then yeah.
Okay.
And
So,
50
yeah.
Cent was the big. Even last year though, with like I think that's why they loved it was like everyone like they had a bunch of different people there, like you knew, and then 50 Cent made an appearance, just like
I feel like, yeah, I think when they have a general theme to what they're doing, it works. Because if you go back and look at like Maroon 5, Travis Scott, and Big Boy, that is not a theme. That is just three random acts put together. Whereas 50 Cent and Eminem have songs together. Snoop Dogg and Eminem have songs together. Snoop Dogg and Dre have songs together. Dre and Eminem have songs together. Everyone kind of worked together there. I was telling Miss Football this that Kendrick Lamar was kind of the odd man out last year because he's kind of like the what are the kids listening to these days? They kind of tossed him out there. But again, it kind of worked with the theme. It's Southern California. We're playing, Dre, Snoop, all these guys. So it made sense. And then this year, Rihanna just by herself. So who headlines next year? Couldn't tell you. But you got to think if it's a group, they're going to stick to a theme. Hey, blank, blank, and blank all have songs together. They all fit the same format. Here they are.
You want a hot take here?
Please.
I think the Coldplay halftime show should get as much hate as it does. Like I don't think it's as bad as it wasn't great. It wasn't my favorite.
I'm just not a fan of them.
See, I like a lot of Coldplay's music, but I liked it because they brought out Beyonce and Bruno Mars. Like they had a little bit of everything. It was a little hodgepodgey. But like I actually
was that after or before she had done her own headlining?
Beyonce?
Yeah.
It was after. So in 2013, Beyonce did it. The year after, Bruno Mars did it. Then there was Katy Perry, and then Coldplay did it with both Beyonce, Bruno Mars, and Coldplay.
Okay.
So I actually didn't hate. I mean, they had a good one. I'm looking at the lineup of songs there.
I feel like Bruno Mars did a good one.
Bruno
from what I
Mars
can
did that.
remember.
Bruno Mars had a great one. He did have the Red Hot Chili Peppers in there, which was kind of like a random, like
Yeah.
it was
I think
kind of
they
like a weird
announced
one.
that though. I feel like they announced that, so then at least going in, you know it's coming.
I don't
I
think
feel like
they
with
announced
Maroon
it. He was a special guest. They have him on. They
Red
have
Hot
them
Chili
under special
Peppers?
guest. Yeah, they have him under
Oh,
special
maybe.
guest.
Okay.
Um,
I'm just trying to somehow justify what they did with Maroon 5, and it just doesn't make sense.
it doesn't make sense. It's like I'll tell you, Katy Perry had Lenny Kravitz on, and I still don't understand why he was on that halftime show.
Okay.
And Missy Elliott. I don't know why those two were there.
I do like Missy Elliott.
I do no. I'm gonna tell you, I
Right, no,
like the
I see
Katy
what you're
Perry,
saying. I
but
see what you're
like
saying.
it was. I don't. I'm now that I'm looking
The only
back on this.
I mean, I like the Katy Perry one. I don't. I shouldn't say that. It was good. You know, the mechanical tiger / lion was a crazy move, but
Katy
everyone,
Perry?
yes, everyone remembers that halftime show for Left Shark and just him fucking
Yeah,
around and
that's
doing his own
true.
thing. So, yeah, I'm definitely more of a fan of where the halftime show has gone more recently than what it was doing. Man, at this point, what like 5
10
years
years
ago?
ago.
Yeah,
I mean,
they've
Beyonce
definitely.
was 10 years ago.
Jeez, oh my god.
Katy Perry would have
No.
been
Oh,
7,
yeah, that was 10. No.
Not, oh, it is 7. You're right.
right? 7? No, 23rd, 8 years ago.
That wasn't the 2014? Oh, that was 2015, wasn't it?
2015 was Katy
Yeah, so
Perry.
8 years
Bruno
ago. 8
Mars
years
was
ago.
2014.
Yeah, Katy Perry was 8 years ago then. Yeah,
I'm definitely a fan
Crazy.
of. I'm definitely more of a fan of the format it is as it is now.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, I thought it was pretty good. I just I wouldn't give it the amount of hate that it's gotten. Also, worth noting, different sponsorship group for the halftime show. No
Yeah,
longer the
Apple Music.
Pepsi app. Yeah, they got the
I
rights.
think
So
that makes sense.
yeah, music,
Um,
halftime show music.
Before we move off of this, I know this is our last ride, but we could always, who knows? Hot take right now, nothing in front of you. Who's the halftime show next year?
Oh my God.
You can either go with your heart, your brain. You can make an educated guess, or maybe just go with who you want it to be.
Do you have someone in
Maybe
mind?
both. No, I'm only asking because I think it's a. I'm honestly trying to think of it myself. So I might even go with. I'll give you 2. Give me a heart one and a head one.
Okay. Let me think. That's a tough question.
Do you have a
What
heart
do
one
you?
at
What,
least?
trying to think because like the
My heart one is Post Malone. I want Posty to do
Post
one.
Malone would be such a good halftime show.
I think Post Malone would kill a halftime show. He did
Uh,
He's going to do the NBA All-Star game
Really?
halftime. Yeah,
All
because
right.
it's in Utah. He lives in Utah.
This is my guess for who I think it may be next year.
All right, so this is an educated guess.
This is an educated guess, and I think you know what? I'm a fan. I'm a fan of her. I think it makes sense because I think she's gonna go on a tour next year or is on like coming out with new stuff. Taylor Swift.
I don't hate that guess.
Yeah, I think that's a. I love Post Malone though. That would be pretty cool. I think Taylor Swift would do a pretty. I think she would do a great show too.
That's a safe. That's a safe bet. I like
That's
that
like
one.
my educated guess one. For heart, man, I think I would love to see Post Malone do one. I kind of would like to see. I mean, let's look at. I mean, the last few been a like rap type music, so I don't see like them going. I don't see them doing the Rihanna, the big cast of characters last year, The Weeknd, Shakira. I mean J Lo, Shakira, not really, but to then doing like a rock group. You know what I mean? Like I don't see them doing that. Like I don't see them making that switch. Um, but that would be kind of cool to see one of these old
I think Rolling
groups.
Stones did like 04 or something like that. They were a Patriot Super Bowl at one point.
Yeah, let's see when they were.
I'm surprised.
I love
like,
the Stones.
I'm surprised. I think Bruce Springsteen did one too back in the day.
Bruce
yeah,
did do one.
it kind of comes down to like what the current music taste is. So I get that.
I mean, looking at it, the last like rock group was 2010. The Who
Oh
did
yeah,
the did it. And then yeah, like it was a stretch. Like Bruce Springsteen did it in '09. Tom Petty did it in 2008. 2007 was Prince. The Rolling Stones was in '06. Paul McCartney was in '05. So that I
yeah.
think that was they
You can
went on
tell
that
where
stretch.
you can tell where the generational gap kind of fell off.
Yeah. Then there was a
Yeah,
couple year gap.
I think they're going. I definitely think they're going with more more of like a recent artist type thing. So I
Yeah.
think T Swift is a good pick. T Swift is a good pick. I think
Yeah.
she was the favorite going into this year until they actually picked
Really?
Rihanna. I
Really?
I vaguely remember someone saying she's like the leading favorite to get it, but again, I could be wrong. But I think that's a really good pick.
I'm gonna go with I like yours though. I like your if they announced that Post Malone was doing the halftime show, I'd be so fired up for it.
Yeah, my heart is Posty. Um, Head T Swift makes a lot of sense. I could. If you hadn't picked Taylor Swift, I probably would have went with her. But because you have her, I'm gonna go Harry Styles.
Harry Styles is a good one.
I think they could. Yeah, I think Harry Styles is like he. I think he just got a couple Grammys too. So
Yeah.
if it's not Taylor Swift, I think they go Harry Styles.
Dude, pivot off of that One Direction reunion for the
That
halftime
would be
show.
crazy.
That I think that would be I'm not a big One Direction guy, but I think that would make a good halftime show. I think a lot of people would like it and it connects with the younger
Yeah,
it's like you said, it's the audience that watches it. I think it connects with them.
yeah.
Um
So I'll go Harry Styles or Posty.
I think it's gonna be Taylor Swift. I really have a
That
feeling.
I now
I
that you said, as soon as you said it, I'm like, damn, that makes all the sense in the world.
I feel like she's if
Especially
they
with the
stick
new
with the
album.
solo, yeah, then she has a big tour coming up.
Yeah.
I'm
No, that
honestly shocked she didn't do it this year, to be honest with you. Like now that the more I think of it,
I
she
think I think if Rihanna had said no, it might have been her. I think the big draw with Rihanna was that she hadn't performed anything in 4 years. So I
right.
think that was a big get for them. They're like, holy shit, she's coming out of quote unquote, she's coming out of retirement for this. So
Yeah.
I think if Rihanna had dropped out, I think Taylor Swift would have been probably the front runner to get it.
I totally agree. And I hope Taylor gets it. I think she'd put on a good show next year. Um Real quick looking at the prop bets that we made. I pretty bad. Um it was an awful prop bet for me this year.
What was the
It
Gatorade color?
purple.
It was purple. Oh
Yeah,
man.
it was like plus 900
Did
odds.
you see one of the Chiefs said we've been using like green all season long, and then one of the books actively changed the odds because they said it was liability.
Really?
I thought I saw that like one of the Chiefs during media week was like, "Yeah, we've been using yellow all season long. Like that's just our Gatorade color." And everyone's and one of the books was like, "We can't give you guys plus 350 on this anymore."
That's
So
crazy. Out here
purple.
ruining odds.
I honestly would have never guessed purple.
I would have never guessed purple either. Did look into it. The last 2 years have been blue.
Oh, all
So
right.
and blue I don't think was even an option. So I purple's next closest. So doesn't surprise me.
What was the coin toss?
Tails.
There we go. Bang.
Hit on
Never
that.
fails. Never fails.
Um, I had that. I had that Casey. We both had Philly would receive, just different ways. Um, Jalen Hurts. I had Pat Mahomes as the MVP, obviously.
National anthem. Thought I was gonna go under, and he hit the over, man.
Yeah, it depends on which one you have because there was some. I mean, we used 2 minutes, right? That was our thing.
Yeah.
So it did hit the over, but a lot of sports books I found out had it at 205.
Oh
Depending on
no.
what depending on what sports book you used, I heard 207, 205.
Dude,
So
even if I had 205, I still would have hit the under. There was no way he was going over 205.
no, he didn't.
I
I
know,
think
but going in, like if
yeah,
I had seen, I was going off of 2 minutes. I thought it was going to go under 2 minutes. But if I had done another 5-second buffer, oh, I'm riding that under.
yeah, he scraped in over 2 minutes. So 205, 207 definitely. If you took the under, you feel good. I did take the over with 2 minutes. If I had took it anywhere else, that would have been bad. Um, what was it?
Eagles,
Was it past the first play? I can't
I
remember
didn't
for
see
that
the
one.
first play.
I forget the first play. Eagles did score first. We both thought it would be a field goal for the first score. Chiefs longest touchdown. I don't
I don't
remember
know. That
what
Brown one was pretty long.
the Brown one was like a big touchdown. I don't know if I think they might have had it.
There was a 2-point
But
conversion.
there was a 2 point conversion. The Kelsey one was pretty a nice touchdown, but I don't think it was as far as Brown.
No.
Long field goal. They did have I don't remember what the field goal yardage we used was, but there was a pretty decently long field goal. Both QBs over 300. No,
Only one.
yeah, and if you
Slam the
ask
under
me,
on interceptions, though. That was a clean
yeah,
game.
clean game, no interceptions. In fact, um, I don't believe right. There was no picks.
No. Nope. Just a
Um,
fumble.
over 5 TDs between both teams. That was a pretty safe over. Uh, what's SO shown?
Significant others.
Oh, they did show. I don't think they showed many significant others. I saw Brittany
No.
Mahomes in a bunch. Um, if you count, I mean, significant others, I guess. Family. If you said family, they showed the Kelsey mom like about 1,000,000 times. Um, goal line TDs. They did have a couple goal line TDs for the Eagles. Eagles most sacks that they didn't get one. So I hope you hit the under on that one. So I mean, tough prop bets. Tough prop
Tough.
bets for us.
Tough.
I forget we didn't write down all the Super Bowl halftime show ones, but I know I didn't hit any. I don't think either of us hit any of the halftime show ones.
That's all right.
But overall, great game. Disappointing how it ended, but can't be disappointed with the overall ending of that game or overall experience of that game. Great Super Bowl.
Solid Super Bowl all around.
But with that said, let's get into our final segment of the night, the people's topic.
It's the people's topic, baby! People's topic.
The people's topic, you can write on our Instagram and Twitter page at Big Red Zone. Leave us a comment. Let us know what you want us to talk about. Up first, we have, let's go to here. Mrs. Big Red said,
All right.
what her thing was, she got her new ID in the mail. That's what she wanted to tell me. She got her mass ID, so good for you. Darren writes, best Brady moments, a memory lane ride.
Best Brady moments, man. Breaking the record with Randy.
I mean, beside the obvious ones with the Falcons Super Bowl and the Seahawks Super Bowl, I mean,
Yeah. Obviously, the Super Bowl. I'm trying to go more just kind of off the beaten path because you could go the Super Bowl ones every
easy.
single time.
That Saints comeback was pretty cool, hitting
The
Tompkins.
Kendrick Tompkins, yeah. I was just about to mention the first down run he had against the Chiefs for that N'Keal Harry screwed game. So takes off for one of the longest runs of his goddamn career, gets up and he's just fucking fired up. Bill's doing the first down point. I was out of my fucking seat. I was like, Brady's animated, Bill's actually animated. We might actually win this thing. And we should have, but I think yet I'll mention him coming back with the Bucks because that was
a good game. That was a good
surreal.
moment.
I was as surreal as it was. It was good to see him get cheered and acknowledge the fans and just come back for that last game. So, for favorite moments, I'll go with obviously breaking that whole 07 team was just one huge highlight
Yeah.
for me. But again, you can mix in like that Saints game, you can mix in that Chiefs game. Obviously
The
all
homecoming.
the Super Bowls, the homecoming. But I think at the end of the day, like he gave us 20 years of
Yeah.
highlights, so it's hard to pick one or a couple, but yeah, for me, just standing out like just that whole 07 squad, and the Deflategate revenge
Oh yeah.
season, all that. So
We're taking the sucker home. That was a
right,
fun. That
exactly,
was a
yeah,
great one.
yeah.
Yeah, lots of great memories in 20 years. So those are a lot of my highlights. Ed said Durant to the Suns. We didn't really get a chance to talk about it today because it was all Super Bowl topics, but Durant to the Suns, what were your thoughts? We talked about this last week. It's odds are that he was probably going to get traded. But what are your thoughts on Durant to the Suns?
I was shocked to wake up to that. I didn't think he was even going to get moved. Good on the Suns. The West is now an absolute pit. It is not going to be as easy as people think it's going to be. The Warriors are in there. The Mavs are
Suns.
better. The Suns are in there. The Nuggets are number 1 in that conference. The Sacramento Kings are somehow with a 3rd seed. So
They're playing well.
it's an absolute shark tank out in the West. So it'll be interesting to see who comes out of the West to face the Boston Celtics in the NBA Finals.
Who's going to lose to the Boston Celtics in the NBA Finals?
Who's going to have the opportunity to lose to the Celtics? There we go.
But yeah, I'm surprised that they got this deal done. Good on the Suns for making the move. I saw a lot of people out there saying like this is a super team, which I can see how you can argue it that it's a super team because you have those big stars. I don't know. This may be very cocky of me to say. I don't know if I consider this a super team. Would you consider the Suns a super team?
Let me check one thing before I answer that.
The reason I say that is because like Kevin Durant's still one of the best players in the league. I get that. But CP3 is the reason they're bringing in Kevin Durant is because Chris Paul can't do it anymore. Like he's a good role player at this point. Like he's a good starting point guard, but he's not Chris Paul. I think people vastly overrate Booker. Like I don't think he's as good as I think he's great, but I don't think he's like this superstar player. And they want to trade DeAndre Ayton anyway, so like why are we thinking DeAndre? I think DeAndre Ayton's a great player, but I think it's just a great team. I don't think it's a super team because once you get past the starting lineup, their bench is terrible before the buyout. I mean, that could change. Like they could add a bunch of studs at the buyout market, but they don't really have. I mean, if you want to say Chris Paul, not a wash, but a significantly older Chris Paul, a dinged up Kevin Durant, who's an older dinged up Kevin Durant, an overrated Booker, and a guy that you want to get rid of is a super team, then I don't know what to tell. I'd say the Warriors are more than a super team than the Suns.
Yeah, so my big thing is I wanted to see where the Suns are in the West. Right now they're 5th, but they're tied for 4th. 2 games separate them from the 3 seed, but 2 games also separate them from the 9 seed. So again, as I mentioned before, the West is an absolute shark tank. Denver has the MVP. Memphis has Ja Morant. Sacramento is just overachieving. I'm kind of worried about them now. Dallas adds Kyrie. I know we're not big Kyrie fans, but again, he's a good basketball player.
He's good for the first year a team gets him, so he'll be good for this year.
The Clippers still have Kawhi and Paul George. New Orleans just lost Zion again, so that might change things.
Yeah.
Minnesota is Minnesota. Golden State is always a dark horse. And OKC is always a dangerous team. And then you have Utah, Utah and Portland both a half game out of the 10 seed. So the fact that Utah and Portland are, okay teams and they are completely out of it is crazy. It's a super team in the sense of, yes, you have 3 stars on your team, but this is not 2007 Chris Paul.
Yeah.
This is 2023 Chris Paul with Devin Booker, who I do think is a superstar in the league, but I don't think he's really taken that next step. I don't think I would. Me personally, I guess this comes with a bias, but I don't think Devin Booker touches Jason Tatum right now. I don't.
I completely agree. I don't think he touches
So
him.
so you have an aged Chris Paul. You have a Devin Booker who again is good, but I don't think he's part of that upper echelon of top tier talent. And now you have Kevin Durant, who is very much one of those top tier talents,
Right.
but we don't know what he has in terms of working with these two players. We just saw him fail having Kyrie and James Harden. We saw him fail having Kyrie and Ben Simmons. We saw him fail with just Kyrie. So
Right.
we've seen him fail with Russell Westbrook and James Harden. So we've seen Kevin Durant with a bunch of different moving pieces. Now, again, he was very successful with Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green.
Yeah, I mean, that's different, I
It's
think.
hard to mess that up.
Yeah.
But we don't know what we're going to get out of this team. And to say that the Phoenix Suns are underperforming as of this moment is not too far-fetched to say, because that's a team that went to the NBA Finals and was 2 games away from winning it. And they still lost. So now you're adding Kevin Durant to a team that is almost getting passed by the rest of the West. Now, Kevin Durant can completely flip that on its head and make them a completely different team, but having not seen all the pieces together yet, I can't speak to that. So I'll say it's a super team in the sense of the word, but until I see all 3 of these guys on the floor and see how they work together, I'm not ready to say it yet. I don't know if I'm a Western Conference team, I don't know if I'm scared of the Suns yet.
Yeah, I totally
probably
agree.
don't. I would probably like to see another team in a 7-game series, but I mean, if I'm the Nuggets, I can't think they're sitting there like, oh shit, Kevin Durant's here now. Damn, well, there goes our chances.
I will say I don't want to talk too much about the trade deadline because I don't think we have too much pivot too much. I'll talk about this next week. I thought it was one of the best trade deadlines in NBA history. Like it was
without
a
doubt.
It was exciting, big moves, big players. I mean, when you trade Kyrie, Kevin Durant in the same trade deadline, that's like unheard of. Usually trade deadline are like mid to low to maybe like scraping like starter players being traded. It's never this active. And I think a lot of teams got better. I think the Celtics, for the little move they made, I think they improved their depth. I think the Lakers got a lot better. You know, obviously the Mavs got better. I like the Lakers move getting D'Angelo Russell. I like him as a player, and I actually love what the Nets did. As much now that Kyrie and Kevin Durant are gone, I can kind of like them a little bit more. I love the pieces they brought in. I thought it was something to keep them at least competitive, but also they got a bunch of picks. I liked what I love this trade deadline. It was one of the most entertaining.
The Nets did do a good job in reloading. It's going to be a long time before they completely retool this team, but at least at the very least they recognize it's not working. Let's ship these guys out while they still have value, and they got that value back.
This one comes from Paige.
Okay.
Let me just check if Joseph _ Sealy. I don't know if I put it up late, so I'll understand if Joseph _ Sealy didn't write in. I haven't got anything, so this may be the last one unless Joseph _ Celia gets one at the buzzer. She's got a couple here. Paige, being greedy. What was your favorite Super Bowl? What was your fave Super Bowl?
28-3. I think we hit it a couple times, but it has to be 28-3. The Malcolm Butler one is close second, but yeah, I got to go 28-3.
Yeah, if you asked me before 2018, I'd say the Malcolm Butler Super Bowl, but
yep.
I think that Super Bowl in general was just it was just an unbelievable game.
We'll never feel that again.
Never. She writes, OMG, I'm gonna start over. Don't read that.
Whoops.
Well, too late, Paige. We already talked about. What was your favorite Super Bowl So you wrote, what's your favorite Sup Bowl commercial?
Well, she means this year.
I'm assuming this year. We kind of talked about that. If you had to pick one, what was your favorite? I'm gonna go Babies. The Babies were classic. I laughed very hard during that one.
I'll go with Ben Affleck for Dunkin then.
Yeah, that was a good one.
that was
probably my second favorite one.
Call me absolute Neanderthal for Boston humor, but like they had his brother do the SNL thing a couple years ago.
Yeah.
It just fits. It works. It just works.
I think it was, and he had the perfect look for someone from Boston. That was just a classic.
I think the funniest thing for me is that like at one point, I'm assuming it was all like actual people just trying to get Dunkin', get their Dunkin' orders.
Yeah.
Or they could have been actors for all I know. Who knows? But one guy pulls up and Ben Affleck's like, "Do you recognize me?" He's like, "No." And that's just
Nah, just give me your
because
coffee.
that's perfect because any asshole from Medford could be working at your Dunkin' Donuts that could vaguely look like Ben Affleck. So it just works. It works.
I feel like from any other the United States, I think that commercial doesn't hit as
Here's the
hard.
thing: is that you can't stick Chris Evans as a Boston guy. You can't stick Chris Evans in that. Everyone,
No.
you're gonna know who Chris Evans is. Same for John Krasinski. Same for Steve Carell. He's another mask guy. Like but Ben Affleck is just so Boston to his core.
Yeah.
That it's so I can't imagine for a guy who maybe you don't see all of his movies. You just pull up. You just want your coffee. And this guy who is very Boston looking, he's just like, "You recognize me?" He's like, "No, dude, just give me my shit. I want to get out of here. I gotta go to work."
The only other guy that I think would have done Ben Affleck nailed it. But if you were gonna do like a series of those commercials, I'd love to see Bill Burr in that
Bill
same.
Burr, 1
It would have
million
been.
percent.
He would be hilarious.
You'd probably get even more guys like because it's Bill Burr. Like he's a comedian. He's very fringe.
Yeah.
So he could have asked 10,000 people, "Do you recognize me?" And they're like, "Who the fuck are you, dude?"
And he did like an SNL thing a couple years ago where for Sam Adams, like it was a fake Sam Adams commercial, and it was the funniest thing I've ever seen in my life. And he talks like he's from Boston, like he's from the area. He's from as he says a suburb of Boston. I think he's but it would have been that commercial was definitely the babies is like one of those things that like no matter what I'll laugh at, but that Dunkin' Donuts commercial hit that like was a perfect commercial for Boston.
Right.
If you're listening, Dunkin' Donuts, get Bill Burr for your next one. There's an idea, $1 million idea. I did it late, so we'll have to give Joseph_Celia 2 next week. But thanks for writing in to all our people's topics. Remember, you can write in on our Instagram and Twitter page at Big Red Zone. Always leave us a comment. Let us know what you want us to talk about. Also, follow us on TikTok at Big Red Zone. You can also find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. Hit the like button in this video as well as all our other videos. Hit that notification bell so you know when all our videos drop. And like we always say, please, please, please tell a friend. My thanks to Danny Football, as always, for joining this Super Bowl.
Pleasure, as always. Another Super Bowl in the books.
The final one. The final Super Bowl
one.
is in the books. Thanks for listening, everyone, and have a great week, everyone.